So my generation spent 20 years laughing at boomers for paying six figures to park their Hemi Cudas in climate-controlled garages. And then cars like the R34 became import legal, and the same thing started happening to them. That $45,000 Skyline is now a $180,000 Skyline. And nobody, save for a handful of real-ass dudes out there, are using them to do the things that they were designed to do, which is actually drive them. Now, I've watched this thing go down twice in the time I've been into cars, and I'm actually watching it start to happen again. And in this video, we're going to find out who the villain in this story really is, because collectors don't save cars, they retire them. Welcome to Off Camera. So let's put the actual curve on screen with one of these magic graph things, because the speed of this is the actual story. Brand new in '99, the R34 was about $45,000. And here's the part people forget. 10 years later, and they were still only 40 to 50 grand. Then around 2015, as the R32 hit import age, people started doing the math on the 34s and started playing stock market speculation games with them. And then the price started the upward climb. By 2016, the high spec cars had hit $100,000. And if you go over to classic.com, the average is around $180,000 today. Special edition stuff, that can go for well over $400,000 now. And the Paul Walker car sold for $1.35 million in 2023. But, you know, that's an outlier because celebrity cars have provenance, as those nerds like to call it, and it always sells at a premium. We know the price of the cars didn't climb because the car got any better. I mean, it's the same damn car. It climbed because my generation, Gen X, came into some money, and that ticking clock to legally import them hit zero. Hell, they started buying these things way before the clock even got to zero. Did you know that there's a whole business model out there that stores cars for you before they're even legal to import? That's kind of weird, right? Seems a little speculative. I know, right now, there's a ton of you out there saying, yeah, no shit, Jason. I watched it too. Everybody knew that the Skylines were always going to be expensive. And I've got two things to say to that. One, do you kiss your mother with that mouth? And two, it has happened and is happening with a ton of other cars right now. My argument here is that boomers ran this exact play first. Muscle cars, those were just used cars in the 70s, and by the 2000s, they were auction pieces. I remember wanting a 67 Mustang as my first car, and I couldn't even afford one. So now that we have money for all those aspirational icons that we dreamt about, those prices are now going through the roof. I watched a Mark II GTI sell not too long ago for over $40,000. A Volkswagen Mark II GTI. And that isn't even the highest price I've seen one go for. This playbook is generational. Every generation swears they won't do it, and then they do it anyways. We made fun of the boomers for doing this stuff. Now we squirrel the cars away in climate-controlled garages and only take them outside for silly shows where you wear things that current hipsters think we wore for clothes in the 80s and 90s. JDM cars that were driving icons, revered for the performance and the lure of them out on Japanese highways late at night, they don't even get driven anymore. But, to be fair, the buyers aren't the villains. Most of them are actually us. They love these cars, and that's what makes the cycle so hard to stop. Nobody thinks they're the boomer, but in the end, we become them anyways. Reminds me of something. So what did they say in that really dark movie with bats in it? Oh, I remember. You either die the hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Guess where we are in that arc? As my boy frequently says, we've entered our villain era. But are we really the villain here for buying them, or is it something else entirely? We're going to get there, but let's talk about the beginning of this most recent cycle first. So back in 2002 to 2005, I was the technical editor at Eurotuner magazine, and I was standing right in the middle of this market when the cycle started running on air-cooled Porsches. I remember a specific car and a conversation that I had with my friend Dan about a Eurospec G50 body 911 that sat at $7,000 and just would not sell. Dan, well, he's my Porsche friend, and he was the dude that if you had any questions about him, you got at him. I also talked to him about the 964s in that same conversation because I was looking for something like that. The 964s and the G50 cars, they were generally unloved 911s. People let those things go for next to nothing back then. The 993s were the ones that held their value, and the 996s, those were still brand new. But I couldn't afford to own one at the time because, broke kid problems, and I'm sure some of you guys out there get it. Did I make a mistake in not buying it? Maybe, but I drive cars. I'm not really a collector. And I probably would have tanked the value of the car anyways. And that's for reasons that I think most of us will agree on are worse than people just collecting the cars. But we'll get to those reasons in just a second. Stop trying to sidetrack me and spoil the video here, guys. Between 2010 and 2017, the price on the 911 nearly tripled. And now, that $20,000 964 is probably a $150,000 964. And let me tell you something. The drive is not worth the entry price. It's not. You don't agree with me? I'll see you down in the comments. The Porsche market at this pricing level is all hype and speculation. It's gross and it's really no fun to watch because they are absolutely fantastic cars to drive, but not at these dumbass prices. You're paying to be in a club and that's all you're doing, and you know the club that I'm talking about. The joke of this whole Porsche saga is that the 964 went from a car that you could learn to wrench on or make a cool track car out of or do a weird swap to a donor shell for a $500,000 resto mod. And those $500,000 resto mods, they are fantastic to look at, but I don't see a lot of them on track days. I don't know, maybe I'm at the wrong track day. Probably a club thing. So the only car building left on the Porsche platform happens at prices that no one I know is going to touch. If you like this type of stuff, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We do builds around here, we race cars around here, we talk about cars around here. But you got to subscribe to get notified and then hit the little bell thing so it notifies you. I mean, you want to be notified when I'm on, right? I'm a really entertaining guy. You want to know, don't you? Don't you? You do, right? Yeah. So here's the worst part of this, and it's what I was talking about before. The part of this no one talks about, especially the people that are hawking access passes to that club. The price of entry isn't what kills the culture, but what does kill it, and is also super lame and no fun, is what we're about to talk about. So every R34 buying guide says the same thing. Modifications hurt value. Originality is king. Collectors pay extra for stock. Listen to that last one again. Collectors pay extra for stock. Cool. So I guess they're baseball cards now? Where's the glass cases and feather dusters at? And the shame of this all is that the S2000 market is going the same way. A factory stock car outsells a modified one, even though the modified one is way more fun to drive than a factory stock one. So what this actually means is that the market now charges us money to hot rod our own cars. The whole reason people want to collect these in the first place, because they were awesome hot rods for our generation, is now a penalty. What? It doesn't make any sense. You get to pay for that turbo kit twice now. Once for the part and once at resale. It is in fact the cancer of the car culture. One outlet reviewing R34 ownership just this year described the owner as less of a driver and more of an archivist maintaining an asset. That right there is the end state of the R34. A car designed to be driven hard no longer even gets driven. It's maintained as an asset. The irony of all this, the higher performance spec cars, the ones that are better drivers, those are the ones that are more money and more collectible. Write that down, Alanis. The car still exists, it just stopped being a car. And this is why the culture can't survive on a collector platform. Even when owners have good intentions, the incentives punish the exact behavior that built the car's legend in the first place. And the prices of cars trading on the market reward originality over everything. Hell, if these things came in a blister pack, the value would have gone up for never having opened it. Rewarding you for not letting the car be a car is the antithesis of car culture. The villain here is all stock or it's worthless. That kills car culture, and it turns it into a collector, money bros culture. Gross. So this is where it all comes crashing down into the actual car culture. A good current example is the S2000s. These things are just about gone from track day paddocks. Good condition early cars, $25,000. Mint ones, they go clear up to $50,000. So those are moving into glass cases too. The only place to see them outside of those glass cases is those nerdy car shows we talked about earlier. On the opposite end of that spectrum is a 987 Boxster from the same year, arguably its closest rival when they were new. That right now is a $12,500 car in good shape, which is the opposite of how you think it would go until you think about the collector's market protecting the sanctity of the 911. The Boxsters and Caymans, those still show up to track days and get driven hard, Same era cars with the same driver in mind, with the opposite fate. The only difference is where that money went. Even Miatas are starting to get the preservation treatment. Look up what a clean low mileage NA sells for now. Go ahead and I'll wait. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I'll tell you what. I'll show you. Look at this listing from Bring a Trailer. That is the clearest warning sign there is, because the Miata has no reason to exist except for being driven either on the track or by hairdressers to the hair salon. And that's why we have a track build NA on this channel, because we need to get to the hair salon. Hey, wait, who put that on the teleprompter? It's probably Walter. I bet it was Walter. The S chassis, that got taxed out by drift fame before the collectors ever arrived. But now that they're here, those prices are starting to soar too. Meanwhile, there's still Civics everywhere. And it's because there's a million of them got built and nobody's putting those things in glass cases. Yet. Hot rodding is a verb. It happens. It's not a noun that happened and now needs to be collected. Swords need to be collected, not cars. But what happens to the scene after this? Let's talk about that for a second. So I've been going down this road in a very, very real way. Looking for a car for my son to drive for when he turns 16. I'm wanting to fuel that enthusiast in him that's building right now. So what are the cars that the next generation gets to enjoy? The realistic enthusiast menu for a teenager in 2026 is a Bug-Eye or Up WRX or STI if they haven't been destroyed or fallen apart because they're a Subaru. A Civic, a newer GTI or GLI, SN95 or New Edge Mustangs, OBS and Up Chevy trucks, some F-bodies, some G-bodies. There are still cars out there, but the speculation guys are still moving through things, and that list is getting shorter. Do you ever think there'll be another cheap S2000? I don't mean in spirit. I mean an actual affordable S2000. What about a Drift Missile S13 or an E36 M3 that a kid can learn to hoon in cheaply? Think about the menu we had to choose from and think about what's out there now. We didn't just inherit the Boomers playbook, we fine-tuned it and we made sure nothing escapes out the other side of it. And it sucks for the would-be enthusiasts behind us. And then we have the nerve to complain that car culture is dying. So collecting doesn't preserve car culture, it actually removes cars from it. There are vultures circling the 90s and 2000 cars now. The easy collector picks, those are already gone. I have a list of the cars that I think are next, the ones that you should buy and actually drive while you still can. And that's going to be the next video in this series, and that one's coming next week. So tell me down in the comments, what's the car you passed on? One of mine is that G50 body Porsche that I talked about earlier. The other one's that 540 I talked about last week. I would have really loved to beat on one of those before they all got in their pretty dresses and went to the ball. Tell me about yours down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so that I can be a pretty princess too. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed your time here, and I'll see you next time on Off Camper.